Once every year, when the seasons all shift, reality thins and opens a rift. Broadcasts are received from alien places, parallel worlds, and horror-filled spaces. We gather them all for your listening pleasure, with spooks and with goofs, both in good measure. So hold on to your headphones, get ready to scream for the wonderful terror of R-Tap Halloween. Gosh, I got some Pez stuck in my throat.
Hello everyone, welcome to another meeting of the Vidnight Society. I'm your creakiest host, Thatcher, Ghoul, and Whedon.
Hi, my name is Ian, the werewolf. Rar. Oh no, wait, no, I'm not a werewolf. I dressed up as a pirate. Arg. with like a beard that's like taped onto my face.
I definitely forgot my lines.
You had lines?
No, what was I?
You were a vampire.
Okay, I was.
You can change it though.
No, I was just I thought because you were doing a vampire opening, I got confused. Anyways, and I am Isaac, the vampire.
Dun dun dun. Well, boys, it's good to see you again in this very, very spooky time of ours. But then again, we've always met each other here to talk about strange, spooky TV and shows and movies, haven't we?
Yes, since the beginning of time.
Yes, we're so old and so tired. This podcast has 1 million episodes.
That's why you're so creaky.
That's why I'm a skeleton. I'm literal bones. One of us is an immortal vampire. One of us is a skeleton. I don't know how Ian lived this long, but you know what? That's one of the great mysteries of the spooky, spooky world we live in.
Pirates are just legends.
I'm dying.
Pirates are... Ian is just an idea that we've made.
He's a concept in our minds.
I was never real.
He's not but a dream.
Maybe he just regenerates and is replaced with a different actor. That's right, everybody. We're talking about Doctor Who this today.
What?
Who?
No, what?
Who?
When?
Why?
Huh?
How?
I don't know.
Who?
This was a given. The episode of Doctor Who that we watched is one of the spookiest, Midnight, and also one of my favorites.
It's a good one.
However, before we get into Midnight and talking about this, we probably should talk about who is Doctor Who in a segment that we all know and love called Crypt Notes.
Cool.
Love me some crypts.
So you guys know how Crypt Notes works, but just in case this is someone's first time listening to the Vidnight Society, I'll talk about it. Crypt Notes is where we summarize a show as quickly as we can, one word at a time. So Doctor Who has been around for many, many years and has a lot of things that are established. Midnight is a great episode to get into. You don't have to know too much about Doctor Who in order to enjoy it. However, there are a couple of things that we should probably catch people up on before we get into the meat and potatoes. So I was just thinking we could go top down, me, then Dauntless, then Flash. And just kind of do one word at a time, quickly explain the general gist of what and who are Doctor Who.
Let's do it.
Doctor
Who
Is
a
alien
that
travels
through
time
and
space
because
he's
awesome.
for sure. Oh wait, that's 2 words. Shoot.
okay. Sonic.
Wait, what?
Sonic.
The
What? Boy.
I'm so lost. Why are we talking about Sonic now?
I don't know. This is Thatcher's doing. Oh, let's start from the top. Link.
Okay, I'm gonna do a mulligan. You know what? No. We're gonna keep this in. We're gonna keep this in. Dies. Period.
Sonic dies. Okay.
Sonic the boy dies.
Oh, we were doing the... Okay, you didn't introduce that section. I thought we were still describing Doctor Who.
We are.
Well, then where does Sonic come from?
I can't tell you. We have to just play it out naturally. You have the next word.
Ah! TARDIS. It's fine. This is no longer coherent.
Is TARDIS is then Thatcher.
One word. A woman.
That's 2 words.
A woman. A woman.
Named.
A woman.
Wait, what? Hold on. How is the sentence going so far? I'm confused.
TARDIS is a woman named
Idris. Her name is
Sorry,
Idris.
I don't have any information about that.
Oh my
But I
Goog.
found something else.
Flash.
You wanna know
Flash.
if the
Her
TARDIS
name is
What?
Idris.
I wasn't talking to you, Google.
Beatrice, whatever
No,
you said.
Idris.
Sorry.
That's what I said.
No, you said Beatrice.
Sorry, Google's trying to get on the conversation over here.
I can hear.
Yeah.
Ian, I said her name
Okay.
is Idris. Idris.
Idris.
Yes.
Okay, Idris. All right, got it.
Okay, TARDIS is a woman named Idris. Tools.
Did you say tools?
I said tools.
Okay.
What did you call me?
Include
Wrenches
Sonic.
screwdrivers,
and
Psychic.
paper.
airplanes.
You can clearly tell the 2 people who know what they're talking about.
Donna.
Is
I don't do anything with my life. Wait, hold on. What did Thatcher say?
said
before you
Donna.
just now?
Donna is
Very
based.
as
heck.
Next time we should do 2 words.
Doctor.
Who
The
Two.
did you? Sorry, did we just say Doctor Who? The Who?
yes, we did.
No. Doctor Who the Two.
2. Okay. Hearted.
Mr.
Saves.
People.
And that's Doctor
Sometimes.
Who. No!
It is actually true, though.
Yeah. Okay, so that's Doctor Who. I'll have a nice edited version of that right here.
Good luck.
Doctor Who is a alien that travels through time and space because he's awesome for sure. Sonic the boy dies. TARDIS is a woman named Idris. Tools include wrenches, sonic screwdrivers, and psychic paper airplanes. Donna is very based as heck. Doctor Who the Two-Hearted Mr. saves people. Sometimes.
And if you subscribe to our non-existent Patreon, then you can hear the tidbits where we like went off on random stuff because it's hard to do this.
When we got lost in the depths of the TARDIS.
But Scuffed Pirate Captain Flash, we've always had a Patreon in this universe, which is a weird thing for me to say.
I'm sorry. I'm Ian from another future or from another universe. That's my
You've
bad.
replaced the scuffed pirate? You must die.
No.
Alrighty, now let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's talk about Midnight.
First off, I want to hear Ian's reactions and thoughts because he hasn't seen this before.
Yes. Both Dauntless
Oh,
and I are
yeah.
big Whovians, but Ian is not.
I'm just a hoove without the Ian. A hoove.
No, you're an Ian without the hoof.
Oh goodness. So yeah, I didn't know anything about Doctor Who except that it was a British guy that time travels, which is already an amazing concept for me morally. It was cool. What's the name of the actor who plays
David
Mr.
Tennant.
Who in David Tennant? Gosh, that's a British name.
My
Okay,
favorite
sorry.
of the Doctors. He's actually Scottish.
Oh, really?
Did you call him Mr. Who?
Maybe. Sorry if that triggered your European ears.
I'm Mr. Who, and this is my wobbly box. Got my noisy screwdriver. We're gonna solve some time crimes.
I would watch this.
Wobbly box.
All right, what I thought of the well, okay, so as a show, pretty nifty. I already liked the world that it was set in from the moment we got to just the setting of everything and how it's like in the really far future. By the way, because no one explained this to me, and it didn't say it in the episode either, how far into the future is this? Because
It
obviously
doesn't matter.
they're
It
humans.
never says.
Oh, really?
No, so Doctor Who is a TV show, not a series. So the episodes have some time bits that connect, but those are more like in the personal character type stuff, not in most of the other stuff. So each episode tends to be a unique either past, present in another place, or future. That most of the time it doesn't explain where it is. If it's the past, it does, because it does very easily with just costuming and setting typically. But the future stuff, it doesn't tend to explain much of where it is or when it is. It just, the future, there are like some 2-part episodes, and then there's some seasons where there are some episodes that connect. But for the most part, they're pretty separate. There was an Easter egg in Vidnight that ties back to
Oh yeah, I think I pointed that out. The rose
Yeah.
Easter egg.
to some stuff
Yeah.
before that comes into the episode right after Vidnight.
Yeah, because we got to the on the next
Yeah.
episode of Doctor Who.
And so it doesn't actually mention anything that happened in Vidnight. It more just stands as an Easter egg letting you know that like there's still a universe outside of this episode that has characters that you know and that are returning in the next episode.
Okay.
Speaking of the episode, let's talk about it. So, Midnight is a bottle episode. I would say akin to 12 Angry Men, where Doctor Who goes on a train ride in space on a planet where no life exists, and then encounters life, and things go bad.
Yep. There's so many things I like about this episode. It also infuriates me.
Why does it infuriate you?
Because it is one of the prime examples of a series of continuing themes throughout Doctor Who, especially in the David Tennant era, of humanity's stupidity, prejudice, and violence. And this episode showcases all three of them, and that infuriates me, like not from a writing or like it's poorly done, just like people being absolute jerks and just
It's a very nihilistic episode.
Yeah, I definitely got that for sure. Yeah, because it's like all the people there's like pressure on them all of a sudden, and then they're just like acting like savages
Yeah.
and they're just all
which
turning
is a
on them
huge theme
like it's nothing.
of the David Tennant Doctor Who era. But like throughout the episode, there's only really two characters, in my opinion, that like you kind of cheer for or like, and that's Dee Dee and Jethro.
Yeah!
Jethro! I love
Jethro!
Both of them have moments where you're like, come on, please be a decent human being, and they let you down. But they still let you down a lot less than everyone else.
Yeah, and I love that so much because they weren't perfect, because they did make a mistake or two here and there. But the great part is that both of those characters were able to voice very logical and very moral opinions, despite the fact that they were the only two characters that were like constantly bogged down by their like associates. Like Dee Dee was constantly being repressed by that like what's his face dude because he didn't think that she was very smart compared to everyone else there. And Jethro was literally like an angsty teenager, and his mom is constantly like shutting him down, like, "Oh, you're just a stupid kid. You couldn't possibly know anything," or just stuff along that lines. And yet they had like the most logical opinions out of everyone there, and everyone else is acting like morons, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, they are the two youngest characters. And also, I think Dee Dee being a female black woman probably plays into it some too, with the much older white professor who the entire episode treats her as an intern who must learn.
Learning here meaning get coffee and whatnot.
Yeah, help him with his research, run the projector slides. Through its use of character dynamics, manages to put in some of the classic like horror tropes of people making dumb decisions and not listening to the people who are paying attention.
Speaking of horror, shall we talk about the monster?
What monster?
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So, first off, I would recommend that if you haven't watched the episode and are thinking of watching it, do it now, because it's such a fantastic episode to go into blind. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the monster, or lack thereof. I adore this creature. I am somebody who really likes... I like horror. I'm not a big fan of, like, slasher stuff. I'm more of a fan of the, I like the intellectual horror.
Psychological horror.
Pushes up glasses.
I literally just pushed up my glasses. But I really do enjoy the more psychological aspect of horror, and the one of the things that I think makes a truly good horror medium is showing you just enough of the monster so that you're curious, but not confident. There's a quote by H.P. Lovecraft, which is, I'm going to butcher it here, but it's like the oldest emotion known to mankind is fear, and the oldest type of fear is fear of the unknown. And as long as you're able, I think that as long as you're able to keep your audience in the dark enough, that creates a really strong and powerful monster. For some reason, my mind thinks of Predator, if you've ever seen that movie. In the first movie, you have no idea where the predators come from. Nobody has any idea. I mean, the first portion of the movie Predator is just about Arnold Schwarzenegger and a bunch of other guys taking down, I don't know, a drug cartel. It's been a while since I've seen the movie. And it's not until like halfway through in which the manhunt from the Predator happens, and you don't know what this thing is. You don't know if it's an alien, you don't know if it's a monster, you don't know if it's a guy in a suit in the beginning. And I think that's just a good way to do horror.
Yeah, I think also, kind of on that note, one of the ways that this episode does that is by, very early on, it sets up and repeats again and again, nothing can live on the surface of Midnight because science, extonic rays, it would be pulverized in seconds. And so it just keeps hammering home, these are the rules for this world. Yeah. And then as soon as the monster appears, it breaks those rules. And that, at least especially for the characters, makes it scary. Yes. The professor is in denial for so long because he's so caught up on, if I say that this is life, what can I believe? Everything's gone.
Yeah.
Whereas Jethro is the first person who's like, I have no preconceived notion of what can and cannot be life. So my first instinct is there's something pounding outside the thing. It's life.
What's that quote by that Greek guy? The I know nothing quote. I'm gonna look this up real quick.
I don't know it.
Is it Socrates?
It might be Socrates. I'm actually looking up.
That sounds like something that Socrates would say, honestly.
No, it's Plato.
That makes sense.
It's
Oh.
the only true wisdom is knowing that you know nothing.
Also, there's just another thing on characters being afraid. This is one of the few episodes that has the Doctor show actual fear. And the interesting thing is
Yep.
it's not about the monster. It's about the humans, the people, as they are clearly, he keeps laying a boundary. It's like he's working with kids. He lays a boundary. He's like, this is the line. Do you really want to cross it? And every single time there's a brief pause where you're like, they're not going to cross it. And then they cross the line. And so he keeps making more and more promises, more and more like, how far are you willing to go? And they just keep pushing past it. And every time he gets a little bit more scared because he gets to the point where he's like, I honestly have no actual way of convincing them otherwise of stopping them from doing this.
Especially once they turn on him
Yep.
and they're like, oh, well, you sound like you're in cahoots with them. We don't even really know much about you. You won't even tell us your name.
And then the fear gets even higher because now he's afraid for both his own life and the life of this creature.
The body language is really cool too, that you said that. You can actually see him taking physical steps backwards when those things happen in the episode. It's, really well written. The monster itself, though, we should probably talk about this. The monster, all we really see of it is it possesses someone and causes them to repeat what other people are saying, then say what other people are saying, and then eventually pick out one person and speak what they're going to say before they say it.
And then steals their voice and makes them paralyzed repeating what they say.
Which is interesting. You know what's really interesting? I thought, oh, that's a cool idea. I started watching a TV show called Fringe. And there's a character in Fringe who does exactly that. I'm
Wow.
like, wait a minute, what? Yeah, it's yeah. I like Fringe. I'm in the first season. Don't spoil it for me. But I saw that and I'm like, oh, I have to talk about that.
Interesting.
Really quick question. Did we explain, like, the setting and, like, how they came into the situation in
No.
the first place? How all these people...
But
like,
I
were here?
can.
Yeah, I think we need to, like, explain that.
Well, so we, at this point, we're assuming you've seen the episode, or if you haven't, you don't care what we say about it. But so the episode Midnight is essentially the Doctor and Donna have traveled to the future, to the point where humanity has put a leisure palace on a planet made of diamond. That is orbiting around an extonic star, which I'm not sure if that's an actual thing in today's science or if it's just made up. But basically, the light from it would turn you to ash in seconds, and so they have to have specialized glass to protect them from it. They have a sun tanning area that has 15 feet of glass above it, and then they have these rides where you get in this little metal box with really bad entertainment systems, and you travel out for 4 hours to see a sapphire, in quotations, waterfall. The professor early on explains that it's not sapphires actually, and then you travel 4 hours back, and they only ever make it
Like a couple hours.
they don't actually even
probably.
say how many hours in they make it. They show the mileage. They show how many miles
They show how many kilometers. Actually.
Kilometers, yes. The only indication of time that you have passing is a little montage, and the fact that it takes the rescue vehicle an hour to get to them. So maybe they're only an hour out, but
That would make sense.
yeah, the episode it's pretty low budget because they keep it pretty much contained to two main set pieces, which are the little bit of the leisure palace with Donna, who stays behind, and then the tour bus. It's just this little metal train section, I guess, is kind of what it is. Or one of those rides that you can take where it moves up and down and to the side, but just kind of stays in the same spot and shakes you all about with a screen in front of you. So it looks like you're in space or going down a mountain or whatever. But yeah, that's the episode in a nutshell.
Yeah, they ride on the bus breaks down, spooky stuff happens on the bus. And what happens in the end? Well, you'll just have to watch and find out.
The first time I watched it, I was actually a little angry that it never fully explained things because I wanted answers.
That's really interesting because I love that they never explain
now
things.
Going back and watching it, I've seen it a couple times before this too. Like, I appreciate that and I think it's cool and the point. But when I first watched it, I was like, I need to know what this is.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Honestly, I love series and movies that have elements like that because the setup is very good potentially later on. Because in a plot, when you have a plot point that is mysterious and unknown and can start putting ideas into your head of like what this thing is, what it's going to do next, then once you go into later parts of the story, you can sort of paint this picture of what this thing is through the interactions it has with the characters, and then eventually those things can literally be explained. But just that idea of setting up at the start with something very little known, not just by the viewer, but also by the people in the situation. It's why I love, and I'm surprised that I'm doing this, I'm bringing up Stranger Things, because Stranger Things does this very well.
What seasons?
Because in the... well, this is... It's not too spoilery, and and I'm just going to say, if you've never seen Stranger Things, I recommend watching it. It's actually a really great series, relatively. But... at the beginning of the show,
it's a really great series, relatively. So, I mean, it's not the best, but it's okay sometimes. I mean, other times it's great, but
I'm not going to say it's a 10 out of 10. That's just ludicrous, but I would put it at a solid like 8 to 8.5 for the most part. But basically, at the start of the show, like, you get so little information about what the monster is. And then even throughout the entire series in the first, like, 2 to 3 seasons, it's still sort of putting those pieces together of what exactly the monster is and where it comes from and just why it exists in the first place. And I love that idea of progression with mystery, where at the start you literally have no idea what's happening, and then by the end you have an entirely clear picture of why these events occurred and why they matter and why they exist. And I really like I think that's honestly a very underrated idea when it comes to storytelling. And it reminds me so much of how much I hate stories where it's just like at the very beginning, oh, this is the thing, and this is why it exists. Here you go. And it just explains everything.
Exposition dumps.
Yeah, it's not good in my opinion. It's just not a good way of telling any like stories in general. It doesn't create that suspense that just makes it so much better, I guess.
Yeah.
And this episode uses that flawlessly, honestly.
Yeah. Well, should we review our episode? Give it like a rating?
Out of what, like 10?
I don't know. Do we want to get silly and make
yes.
I rate this 2 lawnmowers out of 10 because, or
yes,
I rate it 9 curtsies out of 10.
9 what?
All right. Is that what's called a curtsy, where girls will or I think it's something guys do too. Yeah. They,
no,
like,
I think
bow,
it's only
but
a ladies'
like a weird
thing.
fancy bow. Okay.
Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not a fancy lad, so. I'm a pile of bones.
I'd give this episode 4 complimentary pairs of earplugs and 2 complimentary packs of peanuts, and some of these may contain nuts.
I give this episode a up and fully working out of a abandoned on the side of the road.
We've crashed in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere. There we go. That's what it is. I give this episode a fully working out of a crashed in the middle of nowhere.
All right, I give this episode as something from a show I've never seen before. I give it 9 pounds of Play-Doh out of 10.
Okay.
I don't know why that was my example.
Because we talked about Plato the philosopher.
I give it 9 not Aristotle, Socrates out of
Socrates?
10. Aristoteles. I give it 9 Aristoteles and Socrates and Plato's out of 10.
Plato?
Plato. Yeah, it's overall.
David Thoreau and the Greek Plateau.
And for people who would rate it a 10, I'm sorry, but I rarely ever rate things 10 out of 10. It's just kind of my philosophy.
So
Yeah, the only thing he's rated 10 is the Care Bears movie.
Muppet Babies is obviously an 11 out of 10.
so
Muppet Babies!
another thing that I love about this episode that I noticed more this time is the sound design. Like, most of this episode is sound design and acting. And the music starts off so cheery that you just know something's going to go wrong. And then as it continues, you get to the point where like stuff starts happening and it's actually like creepy music. And then by the end, after the stewardess has, spoilers, sacrificed herself for everyone, like the music, then you have this sad music that just pervades the rest of the episode. And even like, especially as the doctor asks, anyone even know her name? And there's just silence.
Oh.
And then you get to the very end when he's talking with Donna and she repeats back to him what he says. And he's like, don't, just don't,
Please.
don't.
Never again. Yeah, that part hit me surprisingly hard, and it was even about a character that I kind of hated more than anyone else in the episode. Like, the stewardess lady was immediately like a ravenous wolf towards Skye, just like, throw her out! She's obviously dangerous! And then at the end, she's the one who like notices what's actually going on and sacrifices herself. But then everyone else is like, oh, what was her name again?
She's the only person who listens to Dee Dee. And
Yeah.
but that throughout the episode, like when it first starts, even when she turns on all of the entertainment systems and is clearly like,
At once.
this is how I get pleasure out of the day, is watching you all suffer.
I know, she really does give him everything everywhere all at once.
See our other
Oh,
episode.
funny.
But we've never done an episode like that on the Vidnight Society.
Yes, I'm crossing the streams. Okay. But yeah, and then like even going from there, she's, as you said, Ian, ravenous towards throwing Skye out. She's one of the first people to cross the line every time the doctor gives them a choice.
Yeah. Like, she was vicious. You had every reason to hate her.
And then slowly she starts to kind of shift. And once everybody else is actually doing it, that's when she's the only one to listen to Dee Dee and start paying attention to things and notice that Skye, in quotations, is enjoying this way too much.
So she's just a hipster.
And has just this look of,
Yeah.
I don't know, like
that actor-
it's that moment in Resistance where you notice the spy seeing everything go their way.
You mean the imposter? among us?
Exactly. This episode reminds me so much of any hidden loyalty game.
Oh yeah, it's Social Deduction, the movie.
Yeah.
It's great.
Oh man, now since you mentioned that, I'd love to talk about the part where the actor for Skye is like mimicking them. I said this even after we watched with Thatcher. I was like, oh man, being on that set, like choreographing the entire thing where she's repeating everything they say, parts of it even like at the exact same time. That must have been so fun. Like, as an actor, that entire episode must have been so fun.
Imagine trying to remember the lines for the square root of pi and saying them without getting tripped up by David Tennant saying them right next to you.
And then repeat everything they say also after that. I don't know if the parts where it wasn't showing her were maybe like edited in post or something.
Probably.
But either way, it's still so good.
This episode is heavily edited with little speed up moments of her head turning to look at people, kind of jerky movements, that kind of thing, as well as with cuts, parts you don't see. There's definitely some voiceovers, I'm sure.
In fact, Jethro was entirely CGI. It was actually just Andy Serkis piloting him around. They used a model of Big Swing Wingding.
Have either of you seen Merlin, the TV show?
I haven't.
I have not.
Okay, it's not great. Yeah, he plays Merlin.
Sorry.
Oh.
I love how you just preface it with like, it's not very
In my
good,
opinion.
But
We watched probably like the first 2 seasons, I think. And it's okay. But he plays Merlin. And so I first saw him in Vidnight and then Merlin and forgot he was in Doctor Who and then went back and saw Vidnight. I was like, oh, it's Merlin.
yeah, it's always fun doing that. I think the only other time that's really happened to me is I was watching the 11th Doctor, and Badger from Firefly makes an appearance in an episode, the actor who played him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's Badger. But what episode that is, you'll just have to find on your own. Tweet at us, or maybe email us at otep_podcast is our Twitter, and our email is othatpod@gmail.com.
It is our Twitter.
Gotta get that in. Well, gentlemen, we've probably reached our time. However, we do have a bonus bit if you guys want to do this.
Wait, before the bit, I'm sorry. Before the bit, I have to interject here. Can we please talk about Jethro and why he is obviously the greatest character of the episode in every way, shape, and form? I loved him so much.
No.
Can
Go.
you?
Do it.
I would love it if you could edit it. I would love if you could edit it in, but like the part where Jethro says the
I've said
"In the
this.
middle of
I've
nowhere."
said this a million times. I'm going to put it in after the episode, Ian.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's so funny.
No,
Doubtless, I
it's
hope
the
you know
best.
what part we're
I
talking
do.
about, because the way he
Yes.
says it is it's so good.
He
He crashed in the middle of nowhere.
So, a few years ago for Christmas, I got this book of Doctor Who Mad Libs, and I've never used them. And I was doing something and I saw them, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to do it for this. So, everybody knows how Mad Lib works. You just, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not, and you just get certain words and you fill them in, and sometimes you get things like plumber injection in a Mad Lib that my family did.
Oh.
It's fantastic. Sometimes you get spinning bees till the break of dawn. Subscribe to our Patreon where you can hear dramatic readings of all my family's Mad Libs. Alrighty, gentlemen. Are we ready to do this?
yes.
Speed round. We'll start with Dauntless. Dauntless, we need an exclamation.
Alonzi.
Yeah, that's appropriate.
Gasp.
Don't know how to spell that.
It's
Ian.
ALLONS-Y. Alonz E.
Cool, I spelled it right. I just needed a hyphen. Ian, noun.
Is it a proper noun or just a noun?
Just a noun.
Inflatable donut. Oh, no, wait. No, just donut. Just donut. Yeah.
I've already written down inflatable.
Dang it.
Dauntless, noun.
Lamp.
Ian, verb ending in ing.
Licking.
Okay. Dauntless, number. And Ian, noun.
3.
I get all the nouns.
I'm sorry, 3 isn't very fun, is it? Make that 3,720.
My noun is printer.
For any of you who did not catch that reference, 3,720 to 1 are the odds of successfully navigating an asteroid field.
Those aren't too bad odds, honestly. Dauntless, verb ending in ing, and Ian, part of the body.
Tripping.
Kidney. I really want to know what this part's gonna be because you
I'm
said
excited.
tripping and I said kidney.
That's just that's never mind. I'm not gonna make that
We had a
joke.
Mad Libs once where an alien held out his spleen for you to shake.
I have an adjective. I'm going to go with amorphous. Dauntless, animal, Ian, another part of the body.
Oh goodness.
Quokka.
Is that a K or a Q?
Quuoka.
Okay.
Femur.
I hardly know her.
I
I was gonna cut this out. I probably will cut this whole thing out still.
Is this a Patreon exclusive?
We need 2 nouns from you boys.
Telephone pole.
What are those things that dangle in caves and they're like
Stalactites.
yes, yes, that.
And Dauntless, we need a color.
Purple.
Alrighty. This Mad Lib is called I'm the Doctor. Alonzi! I shout as the last of the regeneration energy fades. Every inflatable donut of my foot has been rewritten, and the lamp that I once was is no more. But I'm alive, very much so. Licking to my feet, it finally strikes me. What do I look like? Am I moist? Or do I have 3,720 heads? Oh, what about a jaloker? I've never been one of those before. I began to take inventory of my new printer, starting by tripping my kidney. That's odd. It feels so amorphous and a little bit like a quokka. And my femur looks just like a fish. Everything is new, yet I'm the same telephone pole I've always been. One thing is certain, I'm still the stalactite. Oh, and my hair. Please tell me it's purple.
Oh my goodness. I'm still the same telephone pole I've always been.
My femur is shaped like a fish.
Oh, finished tripping my spleen or my kidney. It feels just like a quokka.
Oh, Mad Libs are only ever like they're man. You have to just be super abstract with Mad Libs for them to be funny. I know people who will do Mad Libs, but they'll just use the most generic stuff. So the Mad Libs like don't even sound weird; they just sound very bland.
Yep. A couple of my siblings, whenever they do a Mad Lib, it basically just end up with a lot of farting, toilet, cheese puff, burp, spleen.
I'm burping all over my spleen.
Gosh, I can't. Well, on that note, I think it's time we wrap up.
My closing line, I'm burping all over my spleen.
That's a good pickup line right there.
What?
Actually, I have our closer. You know what? I care. I do the ending so much. You guys take over. What are our things, guys?
You can find us at... I mean, I guess you've already said that, though.
We can say it again. Repetition, you know? It helps people remember things.
That's true.
I mean, how do you think I remembered what my... No. I was going to say, how do you think I remember what my wife's face looks like? And I'm like,
our
that doesn't make sense.
Gmail is ohthat'sapod@gmail.com.
Actually, I think it's Oh That Pod.
Oh, that pod, dang it. ohthatpod@gmail.com.
Oh, that pod.
We don't actually have a Patreon yet. Or do we? You'll have to find out.
Depends on what timeline you're in.
But if we did, it would probably be called something along the lines of, Oh, That's a Podcast.
On patreon.com.
And our Twitter is...
Isn't it just OTEP? No? What is the twit?
It's at OTEP_podcast.
We know our stuff.
One of us does. Of course, it helps that I'm on Twitter right now, looking at our closer.
It turns out that the closer the hosts had recorded was so dreadfully unfunny that everyone died. So, in order to save a mass death, the hosts decided to go with a different closer that they had recorded instead. That aforementioned closer will be playing right now.
Hold on. Ooh, bad Halloween themed jokes. How about that? Bad Halloween.
Sure, let's do this.
Themed. Oh shoot. Themed jokes. Scary bad Halloween jokes for the whole family by Geek Dad. Oh goodness. Oh, the first one is already so good. Okay, alright. Why are graveyards so loud?
Why are they so loud?
Because of all the coffin!
Oh my god.
Hey, I actually take offense to that as a skeleton. Being dead is not a joke, Ian.
And I sleep in a coffin.
And I am a coffin, so what?
Wait, what?
I don't know. Listen, it makes more sense than you being a skeleton.
No, what?
Wait, I just thought about it. Are humans just skeletons with, like, meaty exteriors? How does that work?
Humans are the mech suits that skeletons ride around in. Well, Thanks for listening to another episode of That's a Podcast, I think. By which I mean, thanks for listening to another episode of Vidnight Society.
This has been...
Make sure to...
Okay. This has been a slow outro.
This is all going to be edited, heavily edited. Make sure to spook up, make something scary, and find your queen of the undead. Vidnight Society, scare up your podcast.
And try not to find yourself broken down in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere.
Jethro is my spirit animal.
Bye-bye now.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Goodbye, everyone.
We're broken down.
Thanks, Jethro.
In the middle of nowhere.
That's enough, now stop it.